Welcome to Comedy by Indie Drop-In. Each week we feature an episode from the best independent creators. Hit the subscribe button for more great comedy content. If you would like to help support Indie Drop-In, check out our Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Indie Drop-In or click the link in the bottom of the show notes. Today's episode is from the Comedy Slab. Don't forget to check out the show notes for links to subscribe to the Comedy Slab and follow on social media. Enjoy the show.
Begin.
Hi, I'm Adrian from the Comedy Slab. Thanks for joining us. Just before we begin the show, a couple of things. Normally we're family friendly, but this show is for grown-ups only. Have no fear though, there are plenty of other editions of the show for everyone at Spreaker.com. We'd like to warn you that on the Comedy Slab this week, the following programme is for adults only and may contain banned language. I suppose it could be banned. Bad language such as f and How do you plead, Shane?
Not quilty.
Not quilty. Not stilted.
My love.
That was actually, that was nicked off Not the 9 o'clock news, which for younger members of the audience, Google it!
No, come on. If you'd care at all about comedy heritage, go.
Well, we haven't got any heritage between us, have we?
Go and watch Not the 9 o'clock news, kids. Seriously.
Yes, you should. Mind you, you'd have to. I mean, in context, it was cutting edge at the time, I would say, in a way that it won't appear now. But that's the way the world turns, isn't it?
Although, whenever I watch a wildlife program, there was a sketch where Mel Smith had captured Rowan Atkinson, who was dressed in a gorilla suit. As Gerald the gorilla. And when everyone ever says wild, they're saying, "Oh, he was wild." And so wild, I was absolutely livid. And
that's a brilliant sketch.
There's part of me that thinks it's a bit like the young ones. I remember going to the pub with my mate after we watched it, or the night after we'd watched it, and then you just because video recorders weren't very common, were they? So you just regurgitate all this stuff, and that's how you learnt it quite quickly.
People must have been sitting there making notes. I mean, be honest, were you making notes so that you could regurgitate it?
Not to that, no, but I kind of was really tuned. The antenna were really up, do you know what I mean? I was really kind of... I never actually sat down with a pad and paper, but I kind of thought, I must remember that one, and kind of, can't remember my own name most weeks. But yeah, that I kind of... And then you'd kind of act out the sketch that you both knew because you'd only watched it 24 hours before. It's a bit weird, isn't it, really? But
it is. But it was definitely a thing. Anyway, this is a thing. It's the Comedy Slab. Well, I'm a thing, so is he.
You're right, thing.
I'm Adrian. Speaking to you from the southeast of England, he's in the Midlands. And to be moderately serious, we are actually putting on the slab of shame, and I think that's what we have to call it today. No, certainly this week we are putting on a show which is not for children. Repeat, not for children. In fact, did you see what the age limit was? Is it an 18 plus?
I didn't.
The BBC.
I didn't think it was as bad as when you said that last week, and I thought, oh my word, what on earth are we going to be watching? But without giving too much away, I didn't think. I didn't think there was. I didn't think it was that racy, really.
Are you sure you weren't watching Jess Yates and Songs of Praise?
There was a lot of singing in it. Thought the himmy stuff.
I mean, well, I was brought up on Jess Yates and such things, so to me, it does seem quite racy for a Lacey.
Right. Maybe that's it. See, I thought you were more... Some of the things you say, I mean, you swear like a docker before we start recording, so I don't know.
How very dare you? Very dare you?
And it's sorry for the people listening now, that bit at the start with all the bleeps on it. He doesn't talk like that normally. He doesn't normally do a bleep. He says the proper word. Don't you?
But come on, so do you.
Well, I can't tell a lie.
For pity's sake.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot tell a lie.
Have we ever talked about this on the show before? I don't know whether we've talked about it on the slab before about this. We had a protracted conversation, didn't we, about whether we were going to swear in the podcast.
Yes.
You wanted to, I remember.
I've relaxed more since then, yeah. But I think, is it your Catholic upbringing?
No, it's my broadcasting upbringing.
Right.
I always, whenever I listen to a podcast and they're all fupping this and fupping that, and
silly fuppers.
Yeah, you're fupping fupper and all that, like in Father Ted. When they do all that kind of stuff, it always sounds really, really put on. You know, like they're trying to sound like that. You know, when you're a kid and you're trying to sound like you're older than you are by swearing. It always sounds like that to me. I don't know, but I think it's my broadcasting thing. Is that I kind of think if you're broadcasting, you know, we talked about who would listen to this, and you kind of think, I don't know, if somebody's listening to it and they've got a 14-year-old in the family, you don't want somebody just come jumping in effing and jeffing, do you? There's no need for it, but.
All the 14-year-olds are now saying, "Mummy, what's effing and jeffing?" And she's saying, "Well, it's actually and
Google it." So you've got that bleepy thing going on again. What's the matter with you?
I can't help myself.
Actually,
creative work for myself.
You have started talking like that now, haven't you? It's
I have.
Yeah. Anyway,
I've got the bleeps. So the show is Dave, not to be confused with a comedy channel of that name, which thrives and indeed
survives.
Survives on banter. Yes, the home of witty banter. But it is actually a series called Dave. Had you heard of the white Jewish rapper Dave Burd before, or Lil Dicky?
Lil Dicky, in it, yeah, as in Lil Chris and all the other Lils that are out there. Fagash Lil.
She was good.
No, and I always worry when people say, and this went viral and you kind of think, well, I don't, it passed me by.
Yeah, well, we're not the age group, are we? It was 2014 when it scored 1 million hits on YouTube in 24 hours. That's going some by any standard, isn't it? Even for a famous person.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like it was on YouTube, and I kind of think, well, I've got YouTube. I look at YouTube all the while, but it never viralated me.
Viralated. Viralind you.
It never viralind me, yeah.
Well, anyway, what can one say about it? So he is swimming against the tide. I mean, the guy, or certainly the name he trades under, Dave Burd, and it's Burd if you're Googling it. He is part comedian and part actor-writer. Now, of course, they can all meet in the middle where you do comedy writing, comedy acting, and use your skills as a comedian, timing and so on. I'd have to say, certainly in terms of my horizons, he's a one-off. But he's trying to do something very interesting, I think, which is to swim against the tide of this ultra-macho rapping type tradition, and to say, actually, well, men aren't all like that. And actually, I mean, the clue is in the title, Lil Dicky. How much, if I can use the phrase tongue-in-cheek, that is, that might be an unfortunate phrase, but it is kind of sending up the idea of the macho man and the macho rapper. I mean, you probably can't give too much away before the first of our 3 audio clips, can you, young Shane?
Although I would say, I mean, this whole episode is about him using language in his rap music that he doesn't normally use in real life, and his girlfriend reacting to that, isn't it? If I've watched the right episode.
Yeah. Thank goodness. Well, we've either both watched the wrong episode together, coincidentally,
that's
or
right.
You got the right one. But anyway, it's the same one. We can agree on that. I should say,
I've always got a full of trepidation when they first say that, they go, yeah, well, and they did this, and you think, well, that isn't what I watched.
Well, I had one of those moments last week, which postponed recording by half an hour. I'd like to say how generous you were, but you gave me such a filthy look. It was kind of, that is not happening one more time over my dead body. Anyway, I need to pronounce this correctly. It's a medical term is the title of the episode. Series 1, Episode 3 of Dave. It's called Hypospadias. How's that?
That was pretty good.
In one. And
I think all you need is a stethoscope and a white coat now. I reckon you could blag it.
I probably could. I should have done it years ago.
I wouldn't bother with medical.
Did I tell you about the time I got admitted to hospital and the consultant came to see me and he apologised because he was just coming on shift and he hadn't got his white cape on and all the
that chicken
stethoscope and all of that. No, not Capon.
Oh,
Capon.
Sorry.
Or are you thinking of Batman? No, it wasn't Batman. But then he went away to get checked. He actually he gave me a quick diagnosis, and then when he went away, I said to my wife, with whom I was in those days, I said, "We haven't got any proof that's actually a pucker consultant. He was in his jeans. He'd rocked up. How do I know? I don't know him from Adam," which, fun enough, was his name. But yes, he did appear to be authentic, and he did know which button to press on the machine that goes ping, which was the CAT scan.
That is a good point, isn't it? That though, it's like if they're playing clothes like that, like, is he off duty or is he undercover?
Or is he undercover consultant.
You don't know, do you?
Or is it just because it's the NHS and they can't afford capes anymore?
And what was the chicken like? Was that nice?
Oh, it was rubbery.
Oh, thank you very much.
The old ones are really old, which could be said of us as well. Right, got a list as long as your arm of production credits. That's actually the production company credits. We'll get to those later. Or should I get them out of the way now?
No, that was longer than the programme, wasn't it? When I was watching the programme at the end, I thought, how many? I wrote them all down.
Let's do it before I forget. There's FX, and then there's FX. I can't read my own writing. Is it? Oh, Fearless. Then there's Temple Hill, Heartbeat Productions, Chicken Sticks. That's your favourite theme. I thought I'd written Dirty Bond. That's actually
Dirty Bird.
Dirty Bird.
Yeah,
so that's
Dave
his
Bird's
production company.
yeah. And Matthew's 633.
That has to be a Bible verse, surely. If you looked it up as a God-fearing Catholic.
Yeah. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you.
Do we sense a little bit of irony there for a show that has got effing, jeffing, and a deal of prosthetics, dare one say, at this point?
I don't know whose production company it is. They're Matthew's 633, so I'm not really quite sure whether...
Probably a guy called Matthew. Yeah. And finally, SB Projects, whoever they be. Not they be, but SB.
Yeah, I think you got them.
So, yeah. Alright. So, I've got to predict what you're going to make of this.
Yeah.
You see, for a man who doesn't want to swear on a podcast where you could swear, that sort of points to a sort of traditionalist, but then I don't know if people, and myself included, would get the wrong impression of you thinking that way.
Oh no!
You see,
don't get me wrong. I don't mind swearing. I mean, like, you know, I'll sit and watch Roy Chubby Brown's set, or who else is swearing? I mean, Frankie Boyle, or what? You know, I don't have a problem with that at all. It's not. I'm not a Puritan.
You're a Catholic.
Yeah,
lapsed.
Very lapsed.
Well, okay. So the question is, well, we'll park the bad language or fruity language to one side. It's whether a lapsed Catholic is relaxed about numerous sexual references and prosthetics.
Yeah.
And, of both sexes, talking very candidly about sex, some of which is in the clips. I think we've done sufficient warning, and we must have an E-certificate. If we don't, we should have. What are you giggling at now?
I was just thinking of... one of my favourite Fry and Laurie sketches where Hugh Laurie he has to take his son in to see Stephen Fry, who's the headmaster, because he doesn't know how locusts mate. And Hugh Laurie said, "If you're trying to trick me into sexy talk."
Oh, it's that. That's where it comes from. Because I was thinking of that line the other day, and I couldn't place where it came from.
Mr. Casalingua, yeah.
So he's a prudish dad.
Yeah. Yeah. And, he said, all those people out there. He goes, out where? He said, out there. What, the Arkwright Road?
Anyway.
Dear.
Right, so I've got to guess what you're going to make of it. And maybe I need to think of it in the round, as it were, not just about the adult issues explored. What you make of it as a story. I don't know. You don't do things by halves, as we've said before. It's all or none with you.
Mm.
You either give a high mark or a low mark. You don't tend to give middling marks. Oh. And you don't react in a gentle, middle-of-the-road way.
Make me sound like some kind of psychopath.
Psychopath.
Psychopath, yeah.
I think I'm not that confident you're going to like it. I think it could be a 2 out of 5. Maybe you won't be deeply offended by it, but it won't float your batto either.
Okay.
So I really don't know, because I don't think it's like anything we've put on the slab before to dissect. Would you agree with that statement? You can at least say yay or nay to that.
Which statement?
It's not like anything we've slabbed before. Not really. It's in a genre of its own.
I'd agree with the first part, but not the second part.
Right.
But more of that later. Should we play a clip and I can give you a headline?
Let's do that. Yes.
We can put everybody out there miserable. Put them out there, Les.
Okay, so the show, pretty much from the top, starts with a flashback, and it puts the Flash into flashback. It's a young Dave, beautifully played by a young boy, with similarly curly hair to his adult version. And he's growing up fast as a couple of girls who can only be, what are they, 12?
Oh, I don't know, yeah.
Yeah.
12, 14.
They're letting him fondle them, not to put too fine a point on it. And it's the fallout from that. His mother has heard him on the phone talking about this to schoolmates, and he must be around the same age, 11, 12, 13. And she's on the extension to the phone. He thought he was just having a private convo, and he's talked about this, crossing the Rubicon sexually with these girls. And how he had to pretend. I mean, it's not funny in a way, but it's the excuse he came up with as to why they couldn't do the same to him back. He said he had AIDS. So this is the fallout with mum and dad, and there's a real wonderful Jewishness to both of them. I particularly like the dad here.
They were doing what?
He was in a threesome with Kayla Waters and Mallory Parker.
A threesome? You're having sex?
Well, he felt them up. They're sitting around playing grab ass every day.
Wait a minute, what does that mean? He felt their breast? Did they touch your penis?
This friend group is way too fast for you, David.
What does it even matter? My dick is too messed up to show a girl anyways.
What do you even mean by that, David? You, like, from the surgery?
Yes!
I didn't know this was still an issue for you, honey.
I mean, beyond cosmetically, is there a functionality problem?
Functionality
or
is not the issue, Don. It's the scarring, the mislocated pee hole, the second pee hole.
Well, the second pee hole, there's an easy fix to that, as I recall. There's another procedure.
I'm not wearing a diaper for a year!
He doesn't want to wear a diaper. He's fine just plugging up the second hole with his finger when he pees. We already decided that, Don.
Okay.
How could I ever use it with a girl? It's scarred, it leaks, it's small, it's...
Well, size doesn't matter, sweetheart. That's a myth. Your father has a small penis.
It's average. It is. In America.
Actually. So there.
Said with too much feeling, methinks.
Well, it's what he was thinking. You could tell, couldn't you? Isn't it strange how I kind of jumped the gun and assumed that because it was so Jewish, as you rightly said, that the problem with his penis was that it was all to do with a circumcision gone wrong.
Right.
But
No, I was thinking that as it was playing out, is that... Are we meant to make any association there? But it's not mentioned at all. So,
but it wasn't that, was it? I mean,
no, it's not.
As later on in the episode, you find out. Anyway, headline. Should I give you a headline?
Yes.
My headline is a great beat. I ain't gonna rave about Dave.
Oh, so sadly, I was right.
In a way, yeah. I mean, it was one of those where I didn't. It's really, really odd, actually. I didn't not enjoy it. So therefore I enjoyed it, is what I'm trying to say.
Was it a guilty pleasure?
Not even that, really. I was kind of, and I was a little bit, I spent a lot of time in a kind of confused stupor, I suppose, really, where I'm kind of thinking, I'm not laughing here. Is it and any funny bit's going to come up soon or whatever? I mean, it was perfectly functional, and I did expect a phone call from Woody Allen wanting his career back at some stage. I mean, even the flashbacks I wrote in my notes, it's like the Wonder Years. Remember the Wonder Years?
No.
You ever see that? It was about this the voiceover was like a mature man, but it was all about this kid, and it was his formative years kind of thing.
But that's not Woody Allen.
No, but I thought it's like the Wonder Years meets Woody Allen.
Oh, right.
But yeah, I didn't get many. Did you get many titters out of it? Did you?
Yeah, but only later on. Not that many, but actually they were good ones that I didn't see coming. So it won me over. The thing is...
Yeah.
No, sorry, carry on.
No, all I was going to say was I find that kind of the neurosis act very tiring after a while. And I think there's only... In my mind, I think there's only room for the Woody Allen kind of character. And I get tired of that. I kind of think I can't... the self-deprecating neurotic. I can't do that for long periods of time. Sorry, you were going to say.
Well, I was going to say I've done it for long periods of time myself, so I can't exactly knock the act. I've lived it, darling. I've lived it. What do you mean? Jesus, are you crazy? You don't like neurosis?
I think you really... I think if you said, you can have your life again, but you can change one thing, I think you would be Jewish, and I think your parents would be Jewish as well. Adrian, what are you doing, Adrian? I think you...
What do you mean? Are you crazy? Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't... But, well, actually, there is a line of Woody Allen's, which is, my one regret is that I'm not someone else. And that is spookily on my Facebook account. So you pretty much hit the nail on the circumcised head there. But some mates got in before you. A couple of friends of mine are, well, there's a kind of Jew between them. They're each half Jewish. And they voted me the most Jewish Gentile they'd ever met. So, and I was honoured. I mean, it was to collect the award. Miserable little award. Jesus, that was a small award. But hey,
did they call you a Gentile or a goy? Which?
Well, shiksa, which is strange. That's a woman, isn't it? Anyway,
I get most of my Yiddish from Judge Judy, so I don't.
Yiddish, schmiddish, I say.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Well, I'm disappointed, but obviously not shocked because I kind of saw it coming.
Although I didn't come away from it with a nasty taste in my mouth, thinking, "Well, that was half an hour I ain't going to get back." I was kind of and I'm kind of half tempted to watch another couple of episodes. Yeah, just to maybe go back to the start and see. He got a good supporting cast, and he's not a bad little actor himself, and you kind of think. Maybe this was like kind of one topic centric as an episode, and perhaps moving on to something else, I could kind of get under the to use a phrase, probably shouldn't, but get under the skin of it, But just
the three skin.
I just gave myself a horrible image there. So
yes, you gave it to the rest of us as well. So let's move swiftly on.
But I mean, did you come away enjoying it? I mean, did you think?
I did. Well, my dark secret, which I revealed last week, which is I've been two-timing you and secretly dating this show. As a Unitarian, namely, I only normally watch one episode of any series. And on this occasion, I'm at least up to episode 4.
Okay.
Maybe even more. I can't even remember what the total number is. But
how do you get on with the references? I mean, we've said this before on the Slab, I think, is that, I think that British people, English people, are more predisposed. We're better at kind of tuning into the American vibe. But I really struggled with the contextual vibe, if you like. I had to look Drake up. I hadn't got a clue who Drake was.
I happen to know he's Canadian, but only because I lost a point in a Christmas quiz because I thought he was American. So that's seared into my brain.
I mean, I didn't even know you could have Canadian rappers, but, there you go. So you learn something. I thought they'd stop them at the border and turn them back, but did you...
Well, they probably do now. We're under lockdown.
How did you not struggle with that side of it?
Well, yeah, I'm absolutely not up on rap. And what I couldn't say is whether the black guys around him who are part of the rap culture or are in the show, they're part of the rap culture. I don't know. For one thing, I'm struggling to make sense of some of the things they're saying because I just don't get the patois.
Yeah.
But that's me, not being hip to the jive, I believe is the expression for old white boys. But they seem to be fairly... I don't know, if I had to guess, I'd think they were reasonably authentic, but I might be wildly out.
Right.
I mean, there's all kinds of subcultures within rap, I'm sure, and the heavier stuff. Well, this can't be at the heavier end by virtue of being in a comedy show, I don't think. So
yeah, I kind of felt myself floundering a bit. I was kind of a little bit lost in the context of it all. It
was quite cruel of me to give you episode 3. I could have given you series 1, episode 1, and you'd be starting at the ground floor.
I don't think it would have made a difference, really, to be honest with you. I think I'm pretty convinced that I would still have to. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not going to lie. I'm a big fan of Family Guy, but they particularly in their cutaways, they make references to people that we don't know, and I often will stop an episode and look it up on I'll Google something or somebody that it's or whatever just to try and figure out what they're talking about to try and get the joke. So
right,
so I kind of get it in that sense that there are context that you don't always get, and I don't mind stopping it and having a look. But yeah, I don't think an episode would have made a difference really.
Right,
if I'd have watched a different one.
Well, now before we launch into some sexy talk, as Hugh Laurie might call it. Well, no, maybe I'll say what I want to say, the other side of it, because you might get the wrong impression from a second clip taking this sort of line. I don't want to demystify that too much. See what you make of it, dear listener. So the clip number 2 out of 3. Now, Ali is the girlfriend. I have to say, I mean, it could be my hormones talking, but certainly I think she's a very convincing character, and hence a rather good actor. I hope I'm pronouncing her surname correctly. Yeah, I've got Taylor Miziak, I'm going to go with. New to me. Is she new to you?
Yes.
New to me or everything?
And I like the way you're pussyfooted around it, but yes, she is quite attractive.
I thought you were going to say, she's well fit, man.
Yeah. No, I must admit, I thought, well, she's an attractive lady. I was just going to say that's as far as you're allowed to go when you're married. Well, that's a very attractive lady.
Yeah. Well, I don't seem to be doing much better being effectively unmarried or reborn again bachelor. Anyway, enough about my virtual dating woes from the past week.
You can't,
don't force me
can't
to say anything.
You can't wind the window down and go, hello, darling, shows your tonsils. You can't do that anymore, can you? So, it's all very...
Over Zoom?
Yeah.
Or you mean because the world's moved on?
How do you wind the window down on Zoom? Looking for the window winder at the bottom of your computer.
Yeah, well, if they could tweak the software, then that could reap dividends for them.
Catch on,
now, so we've got the beautiful Taylor Miziak playing Ali. I've called this clip just for my own purposes, but I'm sharing it with you. Ali and Pally talk at Fridge. Because I couldn't work out. Is it Emma? I think it might be. It's the name of her mate.
Oh, her mate. Yeah, I didn't catch that.
With Oriental roots. But what I find, well, you'll hear it, dear listener, in this clip. It's the frankness of the talk and completely unself-conscious two women talking about sex and all that jazz. But they are actually standing by the fridge, and every now and again. To punctuate it, it's a bit visual, which is why I'm explaining it. The Pally, I think called Emma, but I might have got that totally wrong. She's sort of sniffing food to see if it's gone off and retching almost at one point. So I should say you can see this on BBC iPlayer, and it is there for quite some time, available as we speak for over a year. So this is clip number 2, Ali and Pally talking at the fridge.
And it sucks because it has been great. Like, I really have figured out how to make myself come really consistently, which never happened with Rob.
I fucking hated Rob. Wait, what do you mean make yourself come? Dave didn't make you come?
No, Dave, it's Dave's penis inside of me.
Well, what is the sex like? Do y'all fuck in silence?
No, there's passion and moaning. He moans.
Moans? So you just lay there and he's silently humping you and moaning? Do you make eye contact?
No. I close my eyes to focus.
To escape reality?
No, I'm not. I'm saying I'm like, focusing on picturing Dave, just like a different version of Dave.
You're a teacher, Al. You're made for this moment, You just gotta, like, unlock him. You know what I mean? Just unlock him.
And I think that's a really good illustration of what I was saying about, I mean, there isn't, to me, I don't know whether you found any bits funny, but it's like it's all a bit laboured and, not very funny, really. Where's the gags? I think by 17 minutes in, I'm starting to really get seriously concerned that I'm completely missing this now, because that's about the point where I thought, okay, this is good, but this is a drama more than it's almost like a miscom as well, isn't it? It's all very miserable. It's all very, everything's dysfunctional. It's. I was kind of glad when it ended in a way, because the whole storyline is about his misfunction, the relationship in the misfunction. The whole thing was all very broken. I think
but it's not irredeemable, is it? Don't want to issue too many spoilers, but it does turn around.
Yeah, I suppose in its own way, I suppose it does. Yeah,
I think it's very heartwarming the way it turns around, which leads me to what I was going to say anyway, which is if you thought it was just about sex, which is the impression I might have given you, and the first two clips might have given you. Actually, underneath, and this is what fascinates me and actually redeems it for me, there's a very tender love story under the bonnet going on, I would argue. It doesn't appear to have reached you in that way or impressed itself on you in that way.
No. In fact, in my notes at one point, I put this is like the Saving Private Ryan of comedy.
Or Saving Ryan's Privates.
Yeah. And by that I mean, I remember I saw a review screening of Saving Private Ryan, and as I recall, the first 15 minutes is just out and out wanton destruction on the beach as they try and take the beach. It's just like non-stop, and you almost, it's so graphic and so realistic that you kind of just want to get up and get out your seat and leave the theatre. But there's something that holds you there, and that's what I mean by that. There was something there that wasn't what I came for, and I'm not really quite sure why it kept me there. I mean, maybe it was to see some kind of resolution. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you say, I think the thing that made me feel not so bad about it was that whilst he's a bit moany, Dave isn't the character he isn't an unlikable person, is he? He's just a bit moany.
No, quite the... Well, I don't even see him as particularly moany, but...
God, that's all he did was moan throughout the whole thing.
Well, I'm obviously in denial about my own moaniness then.
No, not your moaniness, his moaniness. God, even you don't moan that much.
Really?
Well,
can I have that in writing?
All right, it's a draw. No, I just thought, he was just like... And there was a scene where they were in the restaurant and with his mates... And I was like, moan. Oh no, I can't. Oh, everything's. Oh.
That's not what gets me. What gets me, and I will sound very old school here, but I was raised by an Edwardian gentleman, and became a choir boy in his very choir, which is that it's the mechanical way sex is talked about. I remember John Updike, the late author, who in his time was very racy in terms of how he wrote about sex. He was ahead of his time in the 60s, possibly even the late 50s, certainly early 60s, before the 60s really took off rock and roll and
frothy coffees,
the pill and yes,
scooters,
and all the things that brought us into being, really, or failed to. He was bemoaning the fact, and it is moaning, and I'm doing the same. But he was bemoaning the fact that sex had become sort of biomechanical, and he longed for it. The word that sticks with me is that he remembered when it was majestic, a majestic act. And here you've got two young women talking about it at the fridge, like it's sort of playing with Meccano kind of thing.
Right.
There's precious little emotion going on, and social intercourse, I would argue.
Would you say that they're not conversations that you would have? Because I mean, I'm quite a frank person, as you very often say. Or
so's your son.
He's a very frank person, and so I would kind of have those kind of conversations. So that didn't strike me as anything as particularly unusual.
Right. Well, I'm behind the Frank O'Connor curve.
Right.
I would say. I know I've belatedly got to get round to it, but yeah, definitely behind the curve. Which is why I like the whole premise of Dave. This, I won't say shy Jewish guy, but he is a bit of a misfit, and he has got man's best friend, the honourable member for Male South, is actually a cause of anxiety for him, as we heard at the beginning. But, and it is a big but, I think that it does turn round into this, as I say, tender love story. And it's the fog, for me, clears when... I won't ruin the prosthetics thing. I'll let you enjoy that as a listener, and, you want to be a viewer as well to get the full sense around experience.
I'll be honest with you, I wanted to Google that thing.
Is that actually a thing?
Well, I didn't know what to put into Google, so I can't really...
Headless chicken?
Yeah, I can't...
Headless bird?
He did have this prosthetic thing, which was a masturbatory aid, wasn't it? I think was the best way to describe it.
Yes, okay.
But
she calls it an AI thing, which it most definitely isn't. It's so uncomputerized, it's not real.
There was quite a funny scene, actually, where she discovered it, wasn't it? And she said it's...
The feet flop out of the car.
She called it Jell-O with feet.
But that is the turning point, and that's why I think it's beautiful writing. And, of course, the acting, performing, directing, all the other stuff supports it. But above all, to me, that's a lovely... I mean, in the trade, that would be probably a plot point 2, the turnabout which leads you into Act 3, resolution. Sorry to get analytical, but hey, that's what we do on the Slab.
Did you not have a sense? I mean, there was the whole scene where he was reacting to her finding this prosthetic thing that he had, and it was quite sharp, and it was quite a good interaction, but it just stunk of Woody Allen. I can't get past that. It's just kind of like. You're
saying it like it's a bad thing. But anyway, I don't think Woody Allen's ever had the Jell-O with feet.
No, I know. But the whole interchange and the interaction and the way that I say it like it's a bad thing. It's like saying, we've discovered this fantastic new talent, this new singer, and here he is, and he comes on and I'm caught in a trap. You think, I've kind of heard that before somewhere, and it's the comedic equivalent of that in a way. Is that
look, I think there's no question there's a debt owed to Woody Allen, but I don't think he would ever for a moment deny that. And obviously it's coming from Jewish culture as well. Did you see whether he was New Yorker himself?
Dave Burd? No, I didn't. I didn't look up his...
no, he's Philadelphia, so, I mean, maybe not a million miles away.
Well, Philly's just down the road,
upper middle-class Jewish family.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose, Woody's lot were...
I mean, he even looks like him, Adrian. Come on. I mean,
you can't knock a guy for the freak of genetics that he looks... I don't think he does. And the hair completely... makes him look different anyway.
I think the hair was the same. That's one of the things I thought. I
don't think Woody Allen ever sported a curly beard. Anyway, let's not fall out
not
over
the beard,
such things.
The hair on his head, I meant. Sorry, yeah.
Right. Well, much more curly than Woody. Anyway, so be it. But anyway, here we get to the turning point, and or we're into the turning point, should I say? And I've called this track or this clip "Penis Confession." It is a recurring theme, but don't forget, or we haven't told you, but his girlfriend, Ali, has not been fully in the picture over his insecurities about his honourable, or in his view, perhaps not so honourable member. This is the third and final clip.
Dave, your penis is normal.
You have never seen my dick.
Yes, I have.
I know you think you have. I'm honestly, like, it's my life's work to make sure you don't see it. Like, I spend every moment plotting the lighting and the angles. If you've seen it, what does my dick look like?
It looks like a fucking dick, Dave.
Now I know you haven't seen it. You're leaving?
Yes. We're talking in circles and you clearly don't want to talk.
I was born with a tangled urethra, so when I came out, they did surgery on me, okay? There's scarring down there. I also have a birth defect called hypospadias that 1 in 300 guys have, where the pee hole isn't in the center of the head. It's like, for me, it's on the underneath part of my head. There were also these small black dots on my dick that looked like poppy seeds. I got them removed because it was humiliating, and one of the poppy seeds got removed too far on the underside of my shaft, so now when I pee, it's out of 2 different holes like a super soaker. That's why I pee sitting down. If I didn't pee sitting down, I would just piss all over my own body. And when I'm in public and I'm in a urinal, I'd clog the second hole with my finger. There's just a lot of stuff.
Why is this the first time I'm hearing about it?
I don't know, Al. There was never a great time to pull you aside and say, hey, my dick looks like an old pile of worms.
Anyway, apart from that, how was your day? Wasn't that a blues number? I was born with a tangled urethra. And it's a country and western number, isn't it, I think? Yeah.
I'm sure it could be.
I mean, that just kind of, to me, that just that illustrates all the points I was making, the similarities to Woody Allen. I tell you the other thing as well, I was thinking back to when you were saying about Star Stories and about how they kept going on about, there was like kind of one joke throughout with George Michael being gay was the gag, as it were.
Yeah.
And I felt that hung heavy as well. I was kind of like, I felt the one-dimensionality of the it's, isn't it awfully nice to have a penis? Kind of relentlessness of you almost wanted another strand in the story.
Strand.
Yeah.
But it was, actually, I'll throw this in since you mentioned that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't go anywhere, so it doesn't really count as a strand. There is a point where a couple of his, he's with, it's Gator.
I really like Gator.
He's kind of wingman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is an interesting character, and the dynamic between him and Dave is of interest. It's kind of buddy-buddy.
They're mates anyway, aren't they? I think. Wasn't Gator?
Right.
I think because Gator's a rapper, isn't he? And I think Gator is the guy that
he's playing himself. So yeah,
but he gets advice from Gator in real life, I think, or did have advice on how on rapping.
Yeah, that figures.
Yeah,
but I do find Gator's. I struggle to keep up with him, but you need to kind of tune into his accent and the speed he talks at. But anyways, another black guy that not part of their scene bumps in very deliberately into Gator in this shop. Did you feel that was just a slightly odd thing that went nowhere?
Yes. Yeah.
It was slightly odd, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it proved that a black person can bump into another black person and be angry with them and unpleasant, which this bigger guy was. But other than that, it didn't really develop anything, did it?
No.
Personality, character, anything.
In hindsight, I kind of thought... and because it's only on the second watch that you kind of go, oh yeah, that didn't go anywhere. I've forgotten all about that. But in hindsight, I kind of got it was to illustrate that Gator was a cool guy and was unflappable. This guy was threatening him, and he didn't bother, did he? He
didn't rise to it.
Yeah, he couldn't care less. He was like, yeah, well, whatever. And then the other mate, said to him afterwards, he said, oh, that guy in the convenience store. Yeah, so yeah, it's no big deal, no biggie. Kind of thing. And I don't know, maybe whether it was just to illustrate how cool he was or how street he was, I don't know. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was only the second watching that you kind of think, well, yeah, it didn't go anywhere, did it? It's weird.
Yeah. But I take your point. I think, although it's all of a piece with neurosis that he, coming back to Dave, obviously the star of the show, played by Dave Burd, he obsesses about his genitalia. And what I want to pick up on with you, I have to say I don't agree generally that he's nicking wholesale from Woody Allen. Woody Allen, remember, there is a huge difference in terms of attitude to sex. Woody was neurotic without a doubt when he was appearing in his own films, but he was always confident sexually. That's something I struggled with because I couldn't quite work out how you could be neurotic on the one hand and then super confident in bed, but he certainly was. Whereas Dave isn't. So I would say that's a massive chasm between him and Woody Allen. Superficially, yes, there are similarities. Yes, the delivery, but loads of people deliver like that. Again, if you're neurotic, you're liable to stumble on your words and talk like that.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't really be sexually confident against the storyline that he'd written, though, could he? That's the problem. Is that so he wouldn't be like that. He wouldn't be.
Well, no, he's built a whole persona around it. I'm just saying that is a differentiation between him and Woody Allen's. It's not a wholesale buying of Woody's act.
Yeah,
for me, by any means.
Yeah, I mean that's his gimmick. And I saw a few people who'd commented on his. I went and had a look at his. Did you see his YouTube video that made him?
I had a quick look. Yeah, ex-boyfriend. Well, the one that went viral.
I look at some of the comments there, and they were saying, funny at first, but very one-dimensional. And I mean, even his rap name, Lil Dicky, kind of alludes to the contents of this whole episode, really, in a way. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether people tired of it very quickly. It'd be interesting to see. I think it was the second most watched comedy. The first series was the second most watched comedy on FX, on their channel.
Right.
Didn't say what the first most watched comedy was, which would have given us something to compare. I mean, very often, because he's doing the Jewish shtick, you kind of then think, oh, okay, are there any similarities? Is he like a kind of young Larry David? But I don't think those comparisons work. I think somebody somewhere I saw a review and they were saying, oh, it's a bit like there's a bit of an essence of Larry David, where he has got this kind of caustic view of the world, hasn't he, Larry David? Where I didn't think that came across in this at all, really. I didn't think that was. I would say, to me, that's why I say it's the only comparison I would want to draw would be to the Woodster.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, like I say, bad thing, not a bad thing. I don't know. Who knows, really? But I mean, he's been successful with it, and I like I say, I came away. I didn't come away thinking, oh, well, I'm never going to get that timer back again. I kind of away thinking, yeah, I wouldn't mind. The interesting connection is, though, Jeff Schaffer is involved in this production, who was heavily involved with Larry David. He worked on both Curb and Seinfeld.
Oh, right. That's interesting.
Yeah, so there was, he was he? I think he's one of the executive producers, Jeff Schaffer. As was, which I thought was fascinating. Did you see Scooter Braun was one of the executive producers as well?
No, enlighten me, please.
He's the guy responsible for Justin Bieber.
Oh, right, yes, I was going to mention Justin features in one of the episodes, doesn't he?
Which is it was phenomenal, isn't it, when you think about it, really, that, he's involved in that. I mean, I suppose he's a talent spotter at the end of the day, an entrepreneur, so... But yeah, I didn't. And the other thing is as well, we didn't see any of it in this, I don't think, or maybe there were people that I don't know. There's a lot of rap people involved, but there's a lot of guest appearances in it, which always strikes me as is that a confidence in the product thing that you kind of think, oh, can we have a guest? Can we have a guest every week?
Yeah, well, my views on that, and it always hints at, although this is very early on in its life because it is only Series 1. Series 2 being worked on, I think, coming out next year. Well, it's probably production's been suspended for obvious coronavirus reasons, but depending on how far they got with it before lockdown, and what happens next. But I've forgotten what I was going to say. Such a long sentence, such a long day.
Saying about guest,
wasn't going to make much sense.
What you say about people have guest appearances.
The jumping the shark thing. Yeah, it's too early to call it jumping the shark when you're only up to episode 3 of Series 1. But that's usually what happens, isn't it? A show takes off. Johnny Depp got interested in whatever he got interested in. Was it Little Britain or one of those shows? Mm-hmm. And suddenly they make themselves available. I know what it's like. I mean, I would find it irresistible if a Hollywood star makes it known they like your show and they offer their services, presumably for a knockdown rate because the BBC wouldn't pay top dollar. So, that must be a huge temptation.
Although I might be doing him a massive disservice as well because Justin Bieber, who guest appears in it, was one of the few names that I recognised. And I'm guessing that people with the name like Young Thug are going to be big in the rap world. And Gunner.
I thought that was the name of your son.
Trippie Reed, Gunner, and Macklemore. I haven't got time to look them all up, but I'm kind of guessing that. So it could be contextually, couldn't it, that these people appear as themselves as guest stars? So did you? I'm not going to be too harsh on that one, really.
Satva Customer Service, how may I help you?
Hi, is it true that Satva delivers to any room in the house?
Correct.
Really? Even to a treehouse with spiral stairs?
Yep.
Or an underground man cave?
Yep.
What about a research library hidden behind a painting that can only be accessed with facial recognition?
Satva's free white glove delivery, setup, and old mattress removal works for all rooms.
Impressive. Get $200 off your purchase of $1,000 or more at satva.com/200.
Okay. I end up feeling harsher than you. Super. Is it that time which we can put off no longer, giving it scores each out of 5? Whose turn is it? Do we know?
That's what I was going to say. The only thing that we need to guess is whose turn it is. We always do this, don't we? I can never remember who goes first.
And the thing is, Holt.
Who goes first?
Oh, I'll go first if you want, because I do know what I want to give it.
Go on,
because I actually thought about it in advance.
And then I can mark it down accordingly. I mean, yes. Oh, no.
No. Well, remember, I said you were going to give it 2. I'm going to give it twice that. 4 out of 5 from me, 80%. Yeah, I know. I'm Mr. 3.5. And it's I'm normally 3.5, that's my default score, but it was the surprise when I thought it was all going to be about mechanical sex. Then there's this turnaround and a wonderful, if I may use the term in this context, release, which we heard really in clip 3, although there's more to it than that, and some great laughs at the end, actually. So it does at least build. I take your point. It's not laugh like a drain material beginning to end, but when the laughs come, I found them quite big, few and far between, but loaded towards the end, which is how it should be. I found it a breath of fresh air, because the air is cleared with that when suddenly Ali hears what's bugging him, and basically I want to go out with her, but she appears to be already spoken for.
So you give it a, what did you say, 4?
4 out of 5.
I'm gonna just hit it down the middle, I think. I was toying with the idea of giving it a 2, but then thinking, actually, it kind of left me with the feeling that I wanted to go back and have a look at another couple of episodes. I think that's a pretty good thing to come away with, and I think, straight down the middle, because as you say, and as I said previously, that I didn't think there were massive laughs to be had in it, but I didn't find
it's a smile-com, isn't it, really? The genre I have given it that name, smile-com.
I found it a bit of a mis-com, really. It was a bit, I found it a bit miserable. I found him a bit whiny, as I say, that was the thing. But I didn't, it's really weird, I found him a bit whiny, but I didn't come away thinking, I really detest this character. I kind of liked him, but I wish he wouldn't moan so much, but then you probably wouldn't have the programme that you wanted to. So it's quite complex. But that was the long answer. The short answer is 2.5. So 6.5 out of 10 for Dave.
Must be your turn to set homework.
Yeah, okay. Can we go on to the radio? Shall we go for a good old radio programme? And I tell you what this came out of was last week's Comedy Slab. We were talking about one of the writers, and I was put in mind of this writer's own vehicle, which ran for, I think, something like 9 series on Radio 2. Now, for the people listening outside the UK, and I know there are quite a few, howdy, or wherever you are, g'day. Radio 2, it's really weird for comedy to be on Radio 2. We have the BBC, of course, as our national broadcaster, and they have Radio 4, which is a speech-based station. They have Radio 4 Extra, which used to be BBC 7, but that was way too easy. So, that broadcasts comedy, but they just do that digitally, so they do that online. And on digital, and then they have Radio 2, BBC Radio 2, which is it's a music station, isn't it? really. But this thing went out on BBC Radio 2 when they were doing comedy from time to time, which they still do, I think. I don't know, but it is very rare. It's a very rare beast these days. Anyway, any guesses as to who one of the writers was last week, who we talked about?
Yeah, I can't even remember the flipping show.
Brasseye.
Show.
Brasseye.
Oh, of course. Was Peter Bainham one of the writers?
He was, but that wasn't who I was thinking of.
Chris is a co-writer, Chris Morris.
Yeah, Chris Morris
it
for us.
Won't be him, will it?
He worked in we talked about one of the areas he worked in, and this writer actually, we said, I wonder if they met when he was...
David Quantick.
David Quantick. What?
David Quantick.
All right, David Quantick.
All right, my lover.
God, I hope he never hears this or he'll come round and brick our windows. And it is his... Do you know what his programme was called? It ran for about 9 series. No, obviously passed me by. That's another reason he's going to brick my windows. But I am quite high up in a flat. I think it was about 7 series actually, and then there was a series of one-off specials and bits and pieces. It was a program called The Blagger's Guide. Right. So each week a different guide to something. Yeah, and it's generally, I think this comes out of his, because I think at one stage he was a music journalist. This comes out of his love of music journalism. It's The Blagger's Guide, Series 2, Episode 2, and apologies if you're wanting to play along at home, because I'm not really quite sure where you can get this from. This is actually something from my own personal collection again, so I'm not sure it's available out there. So it's The Blagger's Guide, Series 2, Episode 2, which is The Blagger's Guide to the Rolling Stones, or as I've written here, the Rollings Stones. No, that was plural. The Rolling Stones, reggae, and the New Romantics. So I don't want you turning up in your lipstick and blusher next week just because we're talking about the New Romantics. I know what you like, Adrian. Any excuse. Well, you could equally have talked about Mick Jagger. I mean, they cross-dressed, didn't they, back in the late 60s? Yeah. Nothing new under the sun. But I will try and comply, although who's going to know, frankly, listening. Right. On that dubious thought, on anti-social media, at Comedy Slab on Twitter, at Comedy Slab is our our page on Facebook, and we'd live you. It has been a very long day. We'd live you. Oh, you don't speak English, as the police officer said in Fry and Laurie the other week. Right. Where was I? Who am I? You were living. Which show are we on? I'm living. I've completely lost it. I am very, very drunk. No, I'm just very tired, which is the same thing, really, in my head. We would love you to follow us on Twitter at Comedy Slab and like our Facebook page. And such is your indeed love of the Comedy Slab, you'll want to share it with the world. So share it electronically, you know, the little share symbol. If you do that via social media or however you do it electronically, or in person. Lockdown or no lockdown, depends when you're listening to this. If you could recommend us to fans, family, friends, anything that begins with F. And in this show, frankly, we don't care whether it's effing and jeffing. Are you still there, Mr. Shane? I am, yeah. I've just turned my pictures off because I couldn't bear to look at me. The Comedy Slab is also available on Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, and all good vacuum cleaners near you. And I should add, we'd love a generous star rating on iTunes / Apple Podcasts, or podcast, depending on where in the UK you are, or indeed around the world. Right, well, I don't know about you. I'm going to get my prosthetic jello with feet prepared for a night of love. And as Adrian famously once said, I speak with a forked tongue.
Thank you to the Comedy Slab for the great episode. Check out the links in the show notes to subscribe. Thanks again for listening to Comedy by Indie Drop-In. If you would like your show featured, reach out to us at Indie Drop-In on all social media or go to indiedropin.com. See you next time.